Alright guys, Season 3 starts tomorrow, and honestly, this is probably the most important update Battlefield 6 has had since release. Starting at 8 AM Eastern tomorrow morning, we'll finally be getting Railway to Goldmid, Ranked Battle Royale, the M16A4, the L115 Sniper, the RPK-74, 3 new attachments, a massive overhaul to vehicles, major gameplay rebalancing, and a ton of smaller sandbox additions that are finally making their way into the game. But now that they're finally here, Season 3 genuinely feels like the devs and management are waking up. After dropping player counts, collapsing Twitch viewership, and the layoffs, perhaps management is waking up to the idea they need to make a Battlefield for Battlefield fans, not Call of Duty rejects. And while Battlefield 6 has definitely had a rough time, to put it gently, this update looks like it could be the beginning of that comeback. We're getting deeper weapon customization, more meaningful progression, classic Battlefield content returning from Battlefield 3 and 4, and most importantly, actual reasons for players to log in consistently. Personally, I'm most excited for the M16 and Ranked Battle Royale, but some of these smaller additions matter just as much. Things like the recoil buffer, burst fire trigger options, magnifier changes, and broader gadget tuning are the kinds of sandbox improvements players have been asking for since release, and can sneakily make or break a game, especially when they debut ranked. Now, before we get into everything, I do want to say this is not going to be a full patch notes breakdown, because there are literally hundreds of small changes coming to all corners of the game with update 1.3.1.0. Vehicles, netcode, gadgets, AI, audio, UI, portal, progression systems, weapon balancing, basically every major system in the game is getting touched on in some way. So instead of reading off every tiny adjustment, I want to focus on the major additions and biggest gameplay changes you'll feel immediately when Season 3 releases tomorrow. But if you enjoy in-depth reviews and discussions about all things Battlefield, drop a like and hit subscribe, and let's kick off Season 3. So first up, let's talk about the newest map, Railway to Goldmid, because this is easily the centerpiece of the update and a huge answer to the fanbase. This is Battlefield 6's biggest map by far, 4 times the size of Marak Valley. And honestly, it looks like the closest thing we've gotten to classic Battlefield chaos since release. It's a massive reimagining of Goldmid Railway from Battlefield 4, expanded into a much more complex combined arms battlefield, with open hills for tanks, destroyed villages, industrial compounds, long-range sniper sightlines, and a moving train system that acts as a major control point throughout the match. And honestly, the moving train mechanic might end up being a pretty interesting feature, because unlike some previous gimmicks, this actually feels like something that could contribute to the gameplay. Tanks pushing across open terrain while infantry fight through railcars and buildings, and jets battle overhead is exactly the kind of large-scale warfare people wanted from this game in the first place. The map also just looks more like Battlefield. Bigger scale, more room for vehicles, more opportunities for flanking, and overall a much stronger combined arms atmosphere than a lot of the release maps had. Alongside Goldmid, we're also going to get one of the most requested weapons with the M16A4. And honestly, this thing alone is going to pull a lot of old school Battlefield players back into the game. The M16 comes with both full auto and burst fire capabilities, plus the classic carry handle iron sights that immediately give that OG vibe. The L115 Sniper is also coming tomorrow, bringing a slower, harder-hitting long-range option for recon players, while support players will be getting the RPK-74M, which looks like a more controllable, sustained fire LMG, built more around range and stability, more than just pure aggression, but still makes me wonder why we now have 2 RPKs. But weapon additions are only part of the story, because Season 3 also looks like it's making Battlefield 6's gunplay deeper overall. DICE says recoil across automatic weapons has been adjusted to better define weapon strengths at range, including a big increase to recoil to controller players. magnifiers are becoming shared optics, recoil buffer tubes will be a new option, alongside speed holsters, and weapon readability overall is improving through animation and reticle updates. And honestly, that's all super important, because Battlefield 6's gunplay has felt way too flat at times, too many weapons started to feel interchangeable, and recoil management has been hit or miss since release. If these changes successfully create more weapon identity again, that alone could massively improve the gameplay loop and really matter in ranked. Now, outside of Gold Mid, the biggest addition tomorrow is easily Ranked Battle Royale. This is Battlefield 6's first real competitive progression system, and honestly, the game desperately needed something like this, whether it's expanded player progression, PvE, or other avenues to draw players back in. Ranked Battle Royale Quads releases tomorrow with full ranking systems, leaderboard progression, permanent rewards, and an elite 250 leaderboard for the top players grinding the mode. And even if Battlefield's fanbase has traditionally been more casual than games like Apex, having aspirational content still matters. It gives players something to chase long-term beyond just leveling weapons or finishing a battle pass. And speaking of the battle pass, Season 3 also introduces the new seasonal rollout, beginning with the chapter called Supremacy. The new pass includes over 100 tiers of rewards, including skins, weapon packages, XP boosts, unlocks, and progression paths tied to the season's theme. Battlefield Pro is also expanding with bonuses like 25 tier skips, a permanent XP boost, extra assignments, challenge rerolls, a bonus progression path, and expanded portal support. Now, beyond the new content and monetization, which I ragged on in this video here, the real test for Season 3 is whether the gameplay improvements actually deliver, because Battlefield 6's issues have always gone deeper than just content shortages. The game has struggled with responsiveness, combat readability, vehicle balance, and overall sandbox consistency basically since release. And to DICE's credit, this patch actually sounds like they're trying to tackle these problems head-on again. Vehicles are receiving one of the biggest overhauls we've seen thus far, with tank handling changes, updated health regen, broader weapon tuning, movement improvements, and more predictable survivability overall. Gadgets are also getting another major pass, especially anti-vehicle equipment. Launchers, laser designators, support gadgets, and engineer systems are all being adjusted to create clearer battlefield roles and more consistent counterplay, with a notable nerf to mortars. Then there's the core gameplay polish itself. Pinging is faster and more responsive, damage indicators and hit reactions are more clear, drag and revive systems have been further polished, and netcode improvements are supposed to improve combat readability without changing gunfight outcomes directly. And honestly, on paper, this sounds like the kind of patch Battlefield 6 needed months ago. Now, looking ahead beyond tomorrow, Supremacy is only the beginning. DICE says the season will continue evolving through multiple seasonal chapters, but at a much faster pace, as the season is about half the length of the prior, with exciting new content like the remastered Grand Bazaar coming in the next chapter. Future balance updates, expanded portal functionality, Battlefield Labs experiments, additional live events, and continued ranked support will all come moving forward. And honestly, Season 3 finally feels like Battlefield 6 is leaning into what players actually wanted from this game from the start. Classic maps, recognizable vehicles, bigger all-out warfare, better progression, better customization, and more meaningful long-term goals. Now, obviously, this doesn't erase the terrible release period Battlefield 6 had. The game totally lost momentum over the past few months, content pacing was too slow, some updates simply weren't substantial enough to keep players invested, and the game was just broken. But if Season 3 delivers on even half of what's being promised here, this could genuinely be a turning point for the game, at least for those of us who are still sticking around. Because for the first time in a while, Battlefield 6 actually feels like it has direction again. The M16 is going to hit a massive nostalgia button for longtime players, Ranked finally gives players something serious to grind for, and Gold Mid looks like the first truly massive combined arms experience Battlefield has been looking for. At the same time though, it's hard not to look at all this and think about how much stronger Battlefield 6 could have been if these systems and ideas had existed earlier. Still better late than never, I guess. And if DICE keeps building on this direction throughout Season 3 and beyond, Battlefield 6 might actually have a real future ahead of it, with the inclusion of naval warfare and ranked multiplayer to come. But guys, let me know what you're most excited for, and for everything else Battlefield, stay tuned and subscribe, and as always, thank you guys for watching.